This program is made by MPT to enrich the diverse communities throughout our state and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you.
Live from Annapolis to cover a Maryland milestone, the inauguration of Governor Wes Moore. Right now in the state Senate chamber, top elected officials and top officials from around Maryland are gathered for the inaugural proceedings to begin. First to take the oath of office will be Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller, the oath to be administered by Matthew Fader, the Chief Justice of the newly renamed State Supreme Court. Senate President Bill Ferguson presiding.
It's energy, it's exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, senators, delegates of the Maryland General Assembly, dignitaries, elected officials, and Marylanders across this state, welcome to the Senate of Maryland. I have the distinct honor as the Maryland Senate President of welcoming you here to this incredible chamber, along with our wonderful partner, House Speaker Adrian Jones, for the swearing in of Governor Wes Moore and Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller. Before we bear witness to the beginning of a new chapter, we will have the invocation by the chair of our Finance Committee in the Senate, Melanie Griffith. Please rise for anyone sitting for the invocation.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Speaker, distinguished guests. Let us pray. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord, my Father. Morning by morning new mercies I see. All we have needed your hands hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. We are so grateful, God, for the many things that you have done. We're grateful for the victories you've won. We're grateful for leaders who have poured their time and talent into communities, public servants who've sacrificed, who've protected and served our community. God, we take a moment to lift up those who require our protection and continue in our commitment to serve on their behalf. On this amazing day, Lord, we gather with these amazing leaders and incredible members of every level of government and public service, and we want to pause and acknowledge you. Lord God, without you we are nothing, but we can do all things because of you. We know that you order our steps and direct our paths, and so today we stand in total praise for you and your great work and this incredible historic day that we are sharing together. We appreciate you, Lord. We thank you for all that you do. In your great name we pray. Amen.
Amen. There will soon be a knock at the door of the Maryland Senate, the heavy wooden doors, before the new Lieutenant Governor and her family are admitted. Lieutenant Governor Miller served in the General Assembly. She was a member of the House of Delegates representing Montgomery County. She was born in India, first immigrant to serve as Lieutenant Governor of Maryland, an engineer by training. She is married. Her husband, David Miller, becomes the state's second gentleman, and they have 3 daughters.
Raise your right hand. Put your left hand on the Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Aruna Miller,
I, Aruna Miller,
do swear
do swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland
and true bear allegiance to the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution
and support the Constitution
and laws thereof,
and laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of
execute the office of
Lieutenant Governor of Maryland,
Lieutenant Governor of Maryland,
according to the Constitution and laws of this state,
according to the Constitution and the laws of this state,
and that I will not,
and that I will not,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
receive the profits
receive the profits
or any part of the profits
or any part of the profits
of any other office
of any other office
during the term
during the term
of my acting as Lieutenant Governor of Maryland.
as my acting as Lieutenant Governor of Maryland.
Congratulations, Lieutenant Governor.
To take the oath of office will be Maryland's new governor, Wes Moore. He becomes Maryland's first black governor. 62 governors have gone before him, all white males. Mr. Moore is a veteran, served in the Army in the 82nd Airborne in Afghanistan, a Rhodes Scholar, resident of Baltimore, and won election in a landslide, more than a landslide, a 32-point margin of victory, as he talked about expanding economic opportunity and leaving no one behind. The indoor proceedings at the State House will be followed by a public outdoor ceremony in front of the building. That begins at 12:30. We will bring that to you live as well. Rumors have it there may be some very interesting celebrity guests with us. We will see this afternoon. The new governor is going to take the oath of office with his hand on two Bibles, one belonging to his grandfather, a minister, the other formerly the property of Frederick Douglass, Maryland native, slave, famous orator, and abolitionist. Now to be introduced, Governor Wes Moore.
Mr. President, it's a distinct honor and privilege to announce in the presence of these chambers the governor-elect, Mr. Wesley Amari Moore and his family.
Mr. Moore is joined on the podium by his wife, Dawn. Mr. Moore is new to the State House. Dawn is not. She was an aide to now Attorney General Anthony Brown when he served as Lieutenant Governor.
Okay, so place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Wesley Watende Omari Moore,
I, Wesley Watende Omari Moore,
do swear that I will support
the
Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States,
and that I will be faithful
and
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland,
bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will,
to
to the best of my skill and judgment,
the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of
Governor of Maryland.
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
And that I will not,
And that I will not,
directly or indirectly,
receive the profits,
or any part of the profits,
or any part of the profits,
of any other office,
during the term of my acting,
as Governor of Maryland.
Congratulations, Governor.
The new governor signing the official register in the Senate chamber, surrounded by his family, his children, Mia and James, looking extremely happy. They're going to be moving to a strange new city in Annapolis, in a new home, the governor's mansion, but word has it they're getting a puppy as part of the deal. Joy Moore, Wes's mother, hugging the Senate President, Bill Ferguson. We don't expect any words in the chamber. The formal remarks will be delivered in about 20 minutes outdoors, and we will bring that to you live. If we can take a look at what's happening outside of the Maryland State House, the lawn has been set. Lawyers Mall is covered with chairs. The outdoor ceremony will have a master of ceremonies, Stuart Pittman, will handle the honors. There is construction you can see on the left side of the screen, which limited the seating a little bit. Now, earlier this morning, about an hour ago, there was a procession over from Government House, the new governor being escorted by members of the State National Guard, the leadership of the National Guard. Mr. Moore himself, not a stranger to being in uniform, having served in the 82nd Airborne, having been in military school as a young man and knowing how to deliver a crisp salute. When he walked through the doors of the State House a short time ago to become its governor, he walked through the doors that are behind me over my right shoulder. This is the historic older part of the Maryland State House, dating back to the Revolutionary War. George Washington walked through those doors. Thomas Jefferson walked through those doors. Both, of course, were slave owners. An incredible amount of Maryland's racial history is contained within these four walls. Actually, just outside the door, there long stood a statue honoring Roger Taney, the Chief Justice, a Maryland native.
The entire process today is really rooted in history, and you can see that and really feel it as the ceremony begins. Maxine? Yeah. Well, I think the three big things that we have heard along the campaign trail, Maxine: work, wages, and wealth. And just how he plans to get that done really remains to be seen. He has talked a lot about ensuring that people have access to education and a good paying job. We expect to learn a little bit more about the details of how he plans to do that, at least by Friday, because we know that that is when his first budget proposal is due to the legislature. So we'll see exactly how he plans to do it. We also know that he does plan to take aim at some of the vacancies. There, according to the Moore campaign, there's approximately 10,000 state vacancies across all of state government. Wes Moore has said that he wants to fill at least 5,000 of them within his first year in office, really taking aim at hiring within the Department of Corrections, specifically parole and probations. So we'll expect to hear a little bit about that. In his inaugural address, we anticipate hearing more about education, crime, public safety, some of the big things that we have heard voters talk about for several months now. Exactly how he plans to do it, again, the devil's in the details. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah. He's talked specifically about expanding access to pre-K. That's something that he really says is important to ensure that every kid has a foundation for their future. But we also know that Kerwin is set to begin, and it'll be interesting to see how he wants to pay for Kerwin. We know that legislators have long said that they don't anticipate raising taxes to pay for it, but we'll have to wait and see exactly how they want to do it. We know that the state has a multi-billion-dollar rainy day fund and a surplus. If he wants to dip into that, we'll have to wait and see as well. But specifically education, he talks about especially ensuring that people have access to skills, not just pre-K, but college and beyond in terms of apprenticeships, and making sure that people have access to a good paying job and utilizing the skills that they have to make sure that they have a pathway to do that. Yeah. Oprah is here, Maxine. We have seen some photos of her floating around. She is in Annapolis, and according to the program that we have, Oprah will be the one who is introducing the new governor today, who will give his remarks. Oprah Winfrey, as we know, has been a long supporter of Wes Moore. We saw him on her show when he rolled out in one of his first books. Oprah also held a fundraiser for Wes Moore during the primary campaign. She was involved in one of his ads as well. So that's a big celebrity sighting, but not necessarily a surprise to many people who have been following Wes and his campaign throughout the last couple of months and years.
And Wes Moore, a first-time office holder as well, which is a little bit unusual, as we've seen here in the past. So talk to me about his past. There's a lot of things on his resume, and who might be advising him now in Annapolis as he becomes governor?
Well, we know that he is a former nonprofit leader, right? He was the CEO of the Robin Hood Foundation in New York City. He's also a New York Times bestseller author. But you're right, he hasn't held public office before, never really dabbling in the politics game. So this was a first-time effort for him. And in terms of staffing and advisors, we also know that he's really boosting his team with some of the well-known people within the Democratic Party. He's hired some DNC staffers, people who have Hill experience as well, really showing that he's taking this seriously, and he's surrounding himself with people who have done this before. They know the game, and they're very well versed in the world of politics. Maxine, I've been told that we are starting to see some of the activity make their way outside of the State House, coming outside to the ceremony here. So I'm going to step out of the way, and we can see if we can get a closer look of what's happening now.
Things just getting underway in Annapolis, set to start in the next 15 minutes. We can see Baltimore City Mayor Brandon Scott front and center right there on the steps as we're still awaiting new Governor Wes Moore to come out. And we're hearing that, according to Mackenzie, Oprah Winfrey is going to be the special guest that is introducing him today. We have been watching with you, of course, as Wes Moore and Aruna Miller. They just made history here in Maryland. So let's bring in political analyst John Deedy now to talk a little bit more about that. John, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
So talk to me about why this day is so historic. We've been talking about it here, but there's really a lot to it.
There's a lot of history behind it. First, not only the fact that Wes Moore is the first black governor in the state of Maryland, he's only the third black governor in the United States, the other two being Deval Patrick in Massachusetts and Douglas Wilder in the state of Virginia. So there's a really huge history aspect behind this. And the other fact that when you think about the history is a person of color being the first lieutenant governor of the state of Maryland, it's really a historic event that will probably get a lot of play just nationally. Ever since Wes Moore won the general election, he's been appearing on a variety of different shows, including The View earlier this week. So Maryland is definitely becoming a front and center state for a lot of things the last couple months.
And he's a first-time politician, of course, and of his 22 appointments, only 3 of them have legislative experience. So does this bring in the outside perspective he promised, or does you think this will make things more difficult for him?
The key to being an outsider is making sure you know a lot of people on the inside when it comes to politics and things like that. You know, when Larry Hogan came into office, he had never run for office before, but he had worked for the Ehrlich administration. I think the fact that Wes Moore is bringing in a lot of professional people in Annapolis, people from outside, gives it a good mix, but also he really has an outstanding communications team. They are really good at getting the message out there and getting him out there on a variety of media. So I think so far, if you look at this, it's so far so good for him.
And John, we're seeing right now Brandon Scott on the stage. Talk to me a little bit. We've heard a lot from Mayor Scott about how excited he is to begin working with Wes Moore. How do you think their relationship will be, and how could that possibly benefit Baltimore City?
I think the relationship's going to be very important. Brandon Scott's depending on the mayor, on the governor more to help him a lot. There's a re-election in Baltimore City next year, and many people look at Baltimore as an important economic engine for how the entire state of Maryland goes. You know, when people think of the state of Maryland, they think of Baltimore first. And if Wes Moore's thinking long-term as far as a political career or how things are going to go in Annapolis, it's all about what the temperature in Baltimore is. If Baltimore's doing well, then everyone has a perception everything is going well in Maryland. And I think that Brandon Scott is probably going to be there a lot, asking for a variety of legislative packages, financial assistance to help the city. And the city does need some help in the areas of crime and in the areas of education. In the areas of crime, I think Ivan Bates is going to play an important role as far as this. He is the new Baltimore City State's attorney. He is very popular. And I think some of the things he asks for from the governor will be things that the governor will look at seriously, and I think the legislature will look at it seriously. I think that because you have a new state's attorney replacing Marilyn Mosby, who didn't have a very good relationship with a lot of people, you know, the new broom sweeps clean. So I think for Ivan Bates, this will be a good move for him for having a new governor too.
We have Mackenzie Frost joining us back now live. We want to get a little bit of her take as well. You point out the relationship between Ivan Bates and Wes Moore, another important one for the city. Really, this could be a very big year for Baltimore City with these new people coming into office.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah, absolutely, Maxine. We know that there's a lot of new...
You're good, Mackenzie.
Maxine, that was to me, correct?
Yes, no, yep, it is to you, no problem.
Okay. Yes, so we know that there's obviously a lot of new relationship being built right now. We saw that with Ivan Bates, and Mayor Brandon Scott has long said that he looks forward to working with Wes Moore here in Annapolis to try and craft legislation that will help Baltimore City. But really, the question still remains unanswered is what that will look like in terms of crime policies, because we have seen several policies really directed at Baltimore City in the past with former Governor Larry Hogan, who was Republican, but Mayor Brandon Scott really took issue with some of those policies and plans, not using his position to put his support behind it, and therefore a lot of the city delegation also fell in line to, opposing some of those legislative policies as well. So we'll have to wait and see what that newfound relationship, that bond will bring to legislation and what that could look like moving forward, and really see what plans could become reality.
There, Mackenzie. It looks like I can see Brooke Meerman, possibly Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski. I can still see Brandon Scott from where I am here on the desk with my not so great eyes. You might have a better vantage point, but things should get started here soon. Maryland now going to be a one-party rule. So what does this mean for the state and getting things passed?
Well, there's a lot of anticipation to see what becomes reality, right? Because we have seen a lot of the bills that former Governor Larry Hogan, would have vetoed. The Democratic stronghold in both chambers, they had a veto-proof majority, so they were able to override most of those vetoes. Now we have a trifecta of Democratic control, so the issue of potential vetoes may be eliminated. However, just because there's a one party doesn't necessarily mean that everyone will be on the same page with every single proposal. So we should still anticipate some pushback from any of the Democrats in office, but really we're seeing most of the leaders are on the same page about the direction of the state, that they want to see it go. I've talked to a lot of Republican leaders, and especially legislative leaders here from the Republican caucus, who say that they are concerned about spending, especially that multi-billion-dollar surplus that Maryland is sitting on right now. They say that it would not be prudent for the state to spend that, especially as the economic forecast remains uncertain and the potential for a recession still looming over the state and really the country. So there's a lot of concern from Republicans in terms of spending and making sure that Maryland doesn't raise taxes and really doesn't put some of the burden on the Maryland taxpayers to pay for some of these plans that a lot of the Democratic leaders not only ran on, but have promised to bring to reality.
I want to go back to John Deedy for a second, if we still have him. Do we think that Wes Moore is going to reach across the aisle, and will Republicans be heard?
I think he'll reach across the aisle in some aspects as far as some issues as far as public safety and crime and things like that. You know, your first year in office, you want to appear bipartisan. You want to appear working with the other party. And there's some things that Republicans may agree with him on. Republicans have to be careful about the fights they want to pick. You don't want to fight everything. You want to pick at things just a little bit in some areas, because you have to remember one thing. Republicans got their clocks cleaned in November in the state of Maryland. I mean, Dan Cox got annihilated. And to suddenly say that you're going to carry this banner and fight against a very, right now, a very popular governor could be very difficult for you. The thing as far as Wes Moore, when it gets into the spending, is this. Wes Moore may want to do more, but the problem is there's economic uncertainty. And if I was Republicans, I would point those factors out to maybe pump the brakes on some of these ideas. There's some initiatives that Wes Moore is going to want to have as far as hanging a star on, such as the baby bonds and a variety of other things in education and public safety. But he has to be careful and prudent, because you don't want a situation of putting a lot of spending out there and the money's there today. But in 6 months with a turning economy, having to go to the Board of Public Works and saying, we're canceling this project, we're canceling this project, we're canceling this project, and all the money you thought you were going to have, you're not getting now.
There's obviously been a lot of controversy surrounding Moore, too. We've done a lot of reporting on it. Mackenzie has done a lot of reporting on his background. What challenges do you think he may face in office, John?
I think the challenges he's going to face is really being a new governor. This is the first really political executive position he's had. Yes, he's worked with the Robin Hood Foundation, an organization he created, but it's still a new learning curve. First time as an elected official, Larry Hogan made mistakes. Wes Moore may make a few mistakes. So I think that really taking it a little bit slow, but having those key advisors around you to say, you may not want to jump this fast on something. Annapolis is we think about Maryland, the Terrapin, the motto for the University of Maryland. Annapolis moves the same way, in a very slow, methodical way. Other states can pass legislation, and we wait 10 years before we think about doing the same thing here. So I think as much as he may want to move quickly on things, Maryland has a reputation of taking our time and then thinking about it twice before making a decision, yes or no.
Yeah. We mentioned earlier Governor Hogan leaving office with a very high approval rating. What do you think about that? And what are the chances that we see Wes Moore have such a high approval rating in the future?
I think really the first year he will probably have a very high popularity rating, mainly because he's new. He hasn't antagonized a variety of groups, which is very helpful. Governor Hogan got a good start with his handling of the Baltimore riots, and then people gave him a new look when he had to fight cancer in his first year in office. I think if Wes Moore governs from the middle and he doesn't go too far to the extremes, I think he can be very successful, because the other thing that's going to be on his mind is what happens in July of this year. If all of a sudden President Biden says, I'm not running, and Wes Moore could be seen as the future of the Democratic Party. He has the resume that looks really good. If he has some legislative accomplishments, suddenly people are going to look towards him. So I think this first year is going to be very important for him, because he's in Maryland, close to DC, in the media market there. His number is going to be on speed dial for a lot of shows like Meet the Press, Face the Nation, Fox News Sunday, places like that, to have him appear on those shows. And he's already done a lot of those appearances already. His communications team is outstanding, with a capital O. They're going to get him on those shows on a regular basis. And I think that this is something he's going to think about in some aspect of those possibilities. So I think that having a successful first year is going to be very important for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you mentioned, the economy, the surplus budget, inflation. This is all at the top of, I would say, most, if not all, Marylanders' minds right now. But here in Baltimore City, public safety is also a huge issue, as you know. How do you think he could begin to help the mayor and Ivan Bates, as you mentioned, tackle crime here in Baltimore?
I think what you have to do as far as doing some of this stuff is maybe look at some of the things that Governor Hogan wanted to do that the Democrats weren't thrilled with, and kind of put those things back on the front burner a little bit. Also, another thing that would happen is little things like increase the funding for police officers as far as getting more boots on the ground, as far as things like that. Also doing a variety of measures that may help crack down on crime. Sometimes if you put measures out there that seem popular to voters, you'll get a positive response from voters as far as how they feel about things. So I think he's going to have to do things like that. On Friday is going to be the big day, when the budget comes out and where his priorities are going to be in those spending programs as far as that, and also education. Moore has often talked about being a two-year college graduate, and the CADE funding for community colleges is very important. And when Martin O'Malley was in office, a lot of funding got cut for community colleges. When Larry Hogan came in the office, that funding increased. Education is always a big Democratic Party strong point as far as what they want to do. And community colleges sometimes get left behind. So I think that he may turn more attention to that, because a lot of people during tough economic times, studies show, go back to school because they look at their economic outlook and they say, look, I got a lousy job. I got to do something different. So they choose to go back to school. We have tough economic times. There's going to be an influx of people attending community colleges. So I think that Governor Moore is going to spend a little bit more money and resources in those areas, because when people decide they want to make a change in their life, it's often the first step is going back to school.
Yeah. So, John, we're seeing Governor Hogan has arrived with his wife, as well as Oprah now taking a seat. She's a big special guest today, very big for Maryland. What do you think about her coming?
Oprah doesn't show up unless it's something big politically. I doubt she went to Gavin Newsom's inaugural in California. And this is where I get back to the fact that maybe Wes Moore is that rising star Democrats are looking at. Yes, she knows Wes Moore. It's nice that she came here. Oprah used to work in the Baltimore media market. But this is somewhat unusual, in my opinion, as far as this. And I think that having that type of tie, everyone forgets in 2007, the big moment for the Obama campaign was when Oprah endorsed Obama early. And a lot of people, and this is when she had her television show, and a lot of people said, this could kill her career because women will be angry because Hillary Clinton's running. It did nothing but help Oprah's career, and Obama ended up getting elected president. So having someone like Oprah show up at an event like this today, that's a real good thing if Wes Moore is thinking long-term, and especially if he ends up having to think short-term if President Biden decides not to run.
Huge. John, we want to thank you. We'll probably keep you on standby. I would think that things should be getting started here very soon. If we can, let's go back to Mackenzie Frost, see if we can get her live. As we see things are developing, more and more people on stage. I can see Howard County Executive Calvin Ball beside Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski. Of course, we mentioned Mayor Scott is there. Senate President Bill Ferguson now on stage. And Oprah. Mackenzie, do we have you?
Yep, I'm here, Maxine. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So talk to me a little bit about what's going on behind you now.
Yeah, so we can see more people making their way, taking their seats. I think you might have a better view just because we can zoom in and my eyesight is pretty bad from way back here, but I can understand that we have Brooke Learman. She's the new state comptroller. She was sworn in on Monday as the first female statewide elected office holder. So that's another piece of history happening this week in the state. But really just more people are taking their seats, and I believe we are starting to get a little bit closer to the start of the ceremony. It looks like the VIP section right here at Lawyers Mall in front of the State House is filling up. I have seen several well-known people here. We've got some lawmakers from Baltimore City. Former Mayor Sheila Dixon was here. I was chatting with her earlier today. So many people are taking the opportunity to take a seat and witness history as we watch Wes Moore become the first black governor in the state of Maryland.
It's nice to have when you're a governor.
Briefly about. We could just briefly talk about the spending aspect. I think John Deedy had a really good point about governing from the middle, and we already are seeing Wes really make that clear to some of his Democrat friends in the State House. He was out earlier just last week when the legislature began, saying that he is taking the spending request seriously and saying that he wants to make sure that everything is done responsibly. We'll have to see what happens, and we'll be sure to hold him accountable for that promise to make sure that the surplus isn't spent quickly, as a lot of people are anticipating or concerned that could happen. I believe we just saw Wes Moore and his family come down the steps. There was a little bit of an applause here from the audience. We can see some photos being taken today. Really, everyone just soaking in the moment. I do anticipate us getting started here any moment now, Maxine, so I think I'm going to take my seat and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we just saw Stuart Pittman, the Anne Arundel County executive, speaking with Oprah on stage, as well as Chelsea Clinton, another big guest who arrived there today. I mean, what is the atmosphere down there? It sounds like a lot of excitement, Mackenzie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've got it looks like a school group here. Everyone is up waving and trying to get they're waving to everyone on stage. It looks like Wes Moore is waving to everyone as well. But you can see what we have in front of me, right? This is the Lawyers Mall. If you're familiar with this area, you can understand just how many people are here. But behind us, there's also another wave of people. That's the general admission. And there are two big screens set up so that the people behind me can actually see what's happening on screen as well. It looks like someone must be the hype crowd. The hype crowd is happening right now, and it looks like everyone is rising. I think Wes Moore is starting to come down the steps right now.
Right, Mackenzie, we can see Wes Moore and his wife coming down the steps right now. Things just about to get started here in Annapolis as he's to be sworn in as the first black governor of Maryland, making history today with a lot of VIP guests by his side, including Oprah and Chelsea Clinton. We've seen on stage him and his wife waving there now as things are getting underway.
Executive Stuart Pittman will be the MC for the outdoor ceremonies. Wow, what a beautiful day it is today. If we hadn't referenced this, Charles, in the past, gubernatorial inauguration days in mid-January have brought mid-January weather. This is mid-50s and sunny and a beautiful day to be outside.
I can tell you that.
All right, we're going to check back in with our political analyst, John Deedy, as things continue to happen here. They've made it down the stage, but John, this is taking a little longer than anticipated. Of course, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance in today. We did see Oprah on stage. We also saw Chelsea Clinton, another big guest.
One person I'll also point out was Stuart Pittman, Anne Arundel County executive. He endorsed Wes Moore in October of 2021, way before Moore was even registered in the polls. That's going to be a benefit to Anne Arundel County voters to have that type of endorsement that was done early, because politicians remember who was with them early before they remember the people that endorsed them late. So I think that Pittman's, this is very good for him today.
Yeah, we just saw him on stage chatting with Oprah. How do things play out from here? You know, what kind of happens throughout the rest of this program here?
I think what you're going to see, you know, with the speech that he's going to give, I think it's going to get a lot of play as far as how that works out as far as for Moore and his future. And
then obviously he'll get to work early this week. Let's listen in now. We're going to hear Stuart Pittman. I think he's about to introduce things and get things started. This is the Anne Arundel County Executive, Stuart Pittman.
If you happen to have a seat, please be seated. My name is Stuart Pittman. I am the 10th and current county executive of the best place for all, the crossroads of Maryland, and the seat of state government, Anne Arundel County. I have been asked to facilitate this historic occasion, to introduce our speakers, encourage them to be brief, and model that behavior myself. A master of ceremonies has a task to complete and must hide his or her emotions. I apologize in advance for my failure to do that. This is a joyous day. I have a handkerchief and I intend to use it. You see, I have deep roots in this county and this state. And today has been a very long time coming. I am a direct descendant of a man named Dr. George Hume Stewart, who arrived here from Scotland in 1721, purchased land, made his fortune in the tobacco industry on the backs of enslaved men, women, and children from Africa. Dr. Stewart was also a politician, serving as mayor of Annapolis and as a delegate to the colony's General Assembly. He lived in a house on land that later became the site of Government House, the governor's residence. He lived right there. "300 years later, on September 8th, 2021, when I stood a few steps from that house behind a podium alongside a magnificent new friend named Wes Moore, in the presence of his wife Dawn, his mother Joy, his grandmother Mama Wynn, his sisters Shawnee and Nikki, and my daughter Jessie. The magic of what this day could mean, the healing that this election could offer, was presented as if by a higher power, like a portal to a brighter future. But I did not join Team Moore on that day simply to send a message to my ancestors, as sweet as that message may be. I joined for the same reason most of Maryland joined. I, like you, what it means to be human. It's just that simple. We found one, and that is why we're here today. Watching Wes build the team that catapulted him from the single-digit support he had when I endorsed him to the most votes of any governor in the history of our state. Was a window into what will begin tomorrow morning when the crowds disperse and the work begins. Maryland will learn that we really can get both heart and mind in one body. That we can grow our economy and leave no one behind. That work, wages, and wealth are still the path to progress. And that government is not the source of our problems. It's the tool that works when we sharpen it. Sharpen it with the world-class talent that will serve in this administration. We are such a lucky state today. But we aren't here just to inaugurate Wes Moore. We have a dynamic duo coming to town. We are welcoming back to Annapolis, back to state government service, former delegate and soon-to-be Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller. A woman who brought an infectious joy and energy and confidence to the campaign, and whose experience and wisdom will carry this administration through whatever challenges our times present. Finally, I think it is fitting, it's filling too, isn't it? That after so many months of Wes and Aruna listening to us, that we show them that we have also heard their words, particularly the 4 words that appeared on thousands of yard signs all across our state. You know the ones I'm talking about. I will count to 3, and then we will shout those words together 3 times. We want them to be heard at the very top of the Capitol dome so that they hover there forever and remind all who enter the commitment we have made to the people of Maryland. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Leave no one behind. Leave no one behind. Leave no one behind. Well done, y'all. Okay, let's get this ceremony started. First, a warning and an invitation. The warning is that immediately after the governor is sworn in, you will hear a 19-gun salute and a flyover. It's okay. These are traditional demonstrations of honor and respect. The invitation is to greet the governor and lieutenant governor immediately after the ceremony here in the State House Rotunda. They will spend the first part of their afternoon greeting as many of you as possible. Did you know that? Good. Now, if you're seated and are able, please stand as the Joint Color Guard comprised of the Maryland State Police, Maryland Transportation Authority Police, Maryland Transit Administration Police, Maryland Natural Resources Police, and the Maryland Capitol Police presents the colors. Please remain standing for Severna Park High School's The Voice Top 8 Superstar, Parajita Bastola. Singing our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. And after that, the invocation will be delivered by Bishop Dante Hickman Sr., pastor of the Southern Baptist Church in Baltimore. And the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by James Moore, son of Governor Moore and Mrs. Moore. Please remain standing after the pledge for the departure of colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Shall we bow and shall we pray? O Lord our God, how excellent is your name in all the earth. How we thank you for life, health, and strength, and for things being as well as they are. And we thank you for giving us this beautiful day to witness this historical and transformational occasion, to inaugurate, consecrate, and celebrate Wes Moore and Aruna Miller as the new governor and lieutenant governor of the state of Maryland. We're so grateful for how you've blessed our state. You blessed us with more good than bad, more unity than division, more opportunity than obstruction, and now you've blessed us with more. Wes Moore. Thank you for the content of his character. Thank you for the clarity of his mind and the quality of his spirit. And we thank you for blessing us with Aruna Miller. Thank you for her authenticity, her consistency, and her vibrancy and vitality of heart, mind, and spirit. And now we ask that you would undergird them as they lead, lift, legislate, and leave no one behind. Dispatch your angels to cover the governor and the first lady, Dawn Moore, their children and their family. Cover the lieutenant governor and her husband, David Miller, their children and their family. Protect them from all hurt, harm, and danger. Direct them in your wisdom and in your love. Correct them by your grace and your mercy. May their years in service be filled with more blessing than stressing and more success than mess. And now, Lord, so many Marylanders have been inspired by the ideas and the ideals of Wes Moore. We admire his courage, his charisma, and his collaborative spirit. And so we thank you for giving him the victory of the vote. But now we ask that you would give him the victory of his vision. Give him the victory to improve educational, environmental, economical, and ecological systems of our state so that no one is left behind. You paved the way through liberationists like Harriet Tubman. You paved the way through astronomers like Benjamin Banneker. You paved the way through abolitionists like Frederick Douglass, through jurists like Thurgood Marshall, through activists like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now guard and guide Wes Moore and Aruna Miller as they strive to make Maryland the leading state for opportunity, equity, diversity, dignity, safety, and prosperity for all. We give you praise in advance for all the successes of this administration. We give you praise in advance in the face of our spiritual adversary whose adversity couldn't stop this opportunity. We give you praise on these steps of the state capitol that undocumented enslaved hands built so that we could lift as we climb. We praise you because we know that the steps of a good man and a good woman are ordered by the Lord. We praise you because we know no weapon formed against us shall be able to prosper. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and forever. We pray this prayer to you collectively from our respective faith traditions and convictions. And I pray this prayer in the name of the one who saved my soul, in the name of the one who made me whole, Jesus Christ. Amen. Hallelujah. Glory to God.
Please continue standing and put your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow. Please be seated. I was going to say let's give a round of applause to our great talent, Parajita Bastola, for that amazing anthem, and I will say that. But how about a round of applause for James Moore, leading us in the national anthem. And thank you, Bishop Dante, for bringing faith to this moment. And we extend a special thank you to our Maryland's Joint Law Enforcement Color Guard. Now, to administer the oath of office to the 10th Lieutenant Governor of Maryland, Aruna Miller, I am honored to introduce the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Maryland, the Honorable Matthew J. Fader. At the conclusion of the swearing-in, America the Beautiful will be sung by the most highly acclaimed musical organization of the United States Naval Academy, one of America's premier choral ensembles, the United States Naval Academy Women's and Men's Glee Club, under the direction of Dr. Aaron Smith.
Place your left hand on the Gita and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Aruna Miller.
I, Aruna Miller.
Do swear.
Do swear.
That I will support the Constitution.
That I will support the Constitution.
Of the United States.
Of the United States.
And that I will be faithful.
And that I will be faithful.
And bear true allegiance.
Bear true allegiance.
To the state of Maryland.
To the state of Maryland.
And support the Constitution.
And support the Constitution.
And laws thereof.
And laws thereof.
And that I will.
And that I will.
To the best of my skill and judgment.
To the best of my skill and judgment.
Diligently and faithfully.
Diligently and faithfully.
Without partiality or prejudice.
Without partiality or prejudice.
Execute the office.
Execute the office.
Of Lieutenant Governor of Maryland.
Of Lieutenant Governor of Maryland.
According to the Constitution and laws.
According to the constitutions and laws.
Of this state.
Of this state.
And that I will not.
And that I will not.
Directly or indirectly.
Directly or indirectly.
Receive the profits.
Receive the profits.
Or any part of the profits.
Or any part of the profits.
Of any other office.
Of any other office.
During the term.
During the term.
Of my acting.
Of my acting.
As Lieutenant Governor of Maryland.
As Lieutenant Governor of Maryland.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. To the United States Naval Academy Glee Club, please be seated. At this time, please welcome Mina, Chloe, and Sasha Miller, who will introduce their mother, Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller.
Good afternoon, family, friends, and Marylanders. My name is Mina. I'm Chloe. And my name is Sasha, and we are deeply honored to introduce the next Lieutenant Governor of Maryland, our mom, Aruna Miller. My mom raised us with a simple philosophy. When the universe presents you with an opportunity, say yes. But let me tell you, as an 8-year-old kid, it was not so easy to say yes to knocking on strangers' doors on a rainy Saturday to ask them who they were voting for, or standing outside metro stations at 7 a.m. trying to hand out information to half-asleep commuters. Although I did a lot of complaining over the years, sorry, Mommy, I'm grateful for the moments where you challenged me to say yes. Your encouragement has made us believe anything is possible.
But my mom doesn't only welcome opportunities, she welcomes challenges. For instance, the Lieutenant Governor used to be terrified of public speaking. For those who have seen her speak, I know, it's hard to believe. But instead of shying away from it, she faced her fears head on and took a stand-up comedy class. I won't subject you to the jokes that were part of her routine. I don't know if they're ready for prime time yet, but watching her on stage helped me realize that it didn't matter. My mom's a force to be reckoned with. She's a woman who understands that growth springs from discomfort. Years later, I watched my mom, a woman of color and an immigrant, run for elected office on a ticket with Governor Moore. Together, forging a path for so many underrepresented people to see themselves in our government. I am so proud to be her daughter, and I know she will continue to advocate for the inclusion of all Marylanders during her time as Lieutenant Governor.
My mom has always been my hero. I said I wasn't going to cry. It is her commitment to public service that led me to become a public school teacher. Watching her watching her lead with compassion grounds me in what is most important. I move through the world the way that I do because of her. She leads with values. She will say yes when it matters most, and that is how she will serve the people. Today feels like a dream, and it was only possible because of all of you that chose to say yes. So thank you, Maryland, for saying yes to Wes Moore. Thank you for saying yes to my mom, Aruna Miller. Thank you for saying yes to a better future for our state. It is my honor to share my hero with Maryland. Please join us in welcoming Maryland's Lieutenant Governor, my mom, Aruna Miller, to the stage. Oh my goodness. Girls, Mommy loves you so much. Yes, they still call me Mommy, as you heard. I am so proud of the strong, smart, beautiful souls that you have become. 12 years ago, I was sworn in to the same state house as a delegate from District 15, where I served for 8 years. They say you can never go home again. And I say my presence here today is proof. Yes, you can. Because when you want to serve the people, you can always go home. Good afternoon, Maryland. What an amazing day in our great state. What about this weather, huh? Is it beautiful or what? So I just want to remind you, yesterday it was raining. Today it's 60 degrees and sunny. Tomorrow it's supposed to rain again. So, Marylanders, you should know destiny is on our side. To my friend and Maryland's 63rd Governor, Wes Moore, I am humbled to join you on this journey to serve the state we love for the people we love in a place we call home. To the First Lady, Dawn Moore, and the First Family, we look forward to the joy you will bring to the government house, along with the new puppy you were promised. Right, Jamie? And Mia, that new puppy. To all our federal, state, local, municipal elected leaders, justices, National Guard, family, friends, mentors, and Marylanders, welcome. I am Aruna Miller, and I thank you for your trust and confidence in me to be your 10th Lieutenant Governor of Maryland. I arrived to the United States when I was 7 years old. And I will never forget my first day of school. I remember walking in, it was in Poughkeepsie, New York, walked into the classroom, looked at all my classmates, none of them looked like me, and I couldn't speak a word of English. But I wanted to fit in. So where is the best gathering place other than the cafeteria? So when we went to the cafeteria, I had a plan. I was going to do exactly what everyone else was doing.
So I ate American food for the first time. I drank cold milk for the first time in my life. I was feeling pretty good. I thought, okay, I think I won over all these classmates of mine. They're my friends now. Walked back to the classroom and proceeded to vomit all over the desk. I was mortified. My teacher called my mom. My mom came to pick me up. And on the drive home, I told her, I want to go back to Grandma who raised me in India. I hate cold milk too, Mom, by the way. By the time we got home, we heard a knock on the door. And I opened the door, and outside, standing in the snow, was one of my classmates with a stack full of paintings in her hand. Paintings that had hearts, smiley faces, little faces with tears coming down. And it was in that moment I knew I belonged in this great country. It took an educator to teach what I believe is one of the most important qualities of a human being, and that is to have empathy and compassion for others. It wasn't just the first day of school where I felt I didn't belong. In fact, I would say I spent most of my life trying to fit into a space that didn't have me in mind. As an immigrant growing up in a new country, or as a female engineer in a male-dominated field, as an Indian American legislator in a legislature that looked nothing like me. It took me a long time to realize that it was never about needing to fit into a space created by others. It was always about having the courage to be my authentic self in every space. But throughout our history, too many of our communities have been denied opportunities to live fully, freely, and to be their authentic selves. Too many people have been left behind. From our Black and brown communities seeking to feel safe in their own skin, from women who are fighting for their autonomy over their own bodies, people wanting to love who they love and be who they are in their lived identity, families and children struggling to survive without adequate access to food, housing, education, transportation, and health care. Governor Moore and I see you. We hear you. We will fight for you. We will address the inequities of the past and build a Maryland where everyone will thrive. Because you see, our fortunes are tied together in ensuring that we create a state that we grow equitably. It will take all of us together to achieve this vision. Together with you, we will write the next chapter of Maryland's history, a chapter that will be filled with real-time heroes like you who advocates every day for policies that right the wrongs, you who never gives up on the underdogs to be champions and achievers, you who believes that each of us has the power within us to make tomorrow better than today. My story would not be possible without recognizing the heroes in my life. They inspire me to be better and to try harder. So thank you to my husband, David Miller. You've made my life a fairy tale. To my mom and dad who took a leap of faith to come to this country because they believed in the promise of America. To my siblings, you were the best part of my childhood, and I thank you and I love you for always being there. And of course, also to my daughters that I recognize, I am so proud, and they become my favorite type of people, taxpayers. To my family, friends, and mentors, thank you for never, ever giving up on me. To Marylanders, thank you for trusting me to help lead our state into the future. And to Governor Moore, from the moment we met, I knew you were going to be the next governor of Maryland. And apparently, so did 1,244,000 other Marylanders. Changing. Yes is when we say yes, we do more, we create more. Saying yes is to trust the universe has bigger plans for us, one that we can only understand with hindsight. And now, here we are, Governor. It was an honor to run by your side, and it will be the greatest honor of my life to serve by your side. For every single person across the state, from Mountain, Maryland to the Eastern Shore, from Baltimore City to Southern Maryland, and every space in between, you belong here. This is your home. This is our home. Yes, this is our Maryland.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Miller. We are so ready for your inspired leadership. Now, it is my pleasure to present to you one of the nation's most prestigious university choral ensembles, the Morgan State University Choir, under the direction of Dr. Eric Conway, performing God Bless America.
Swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we lift our voices in this solemn prayer. God bless America, the land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, it's my home, sweet home. Oh, God bless
Thank you, Dr. Conway and the amazing Morgan State University Choir for that performance. To administer the oath of office to the 63rd Governor of the State of Maryland, Wes Moore, I once again welcome to the podium the Honorable Matthew J. Fader. The swearing-in will be followed immediately by honors and the 19-gun salute by soldiers from the Maryland Army National Guard. Following the salute, please look skyward to see our Maryland Air National Guard 175th Wing's finest coming to us from Warfield Air National Guard Base in Middle River, Maryland.
Do you want to come around here because you can hold the other Bible underneath? Is that right?
Yes.
There we go.
No. Put it on this one.
Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I, Wesley Watende Omari Moore.
I, Wesley Watende Omari Moore.
Do swear.
Do swear.
That I will support the Constitution.
That I will support the Constitution.
Of the United States.
Of the United States.
And that I will be faithful.
And that I will be faithful.
And bear true allegiance.
And bear true allegiance.
To the state of Maryland.
To the state of Maryland.
And support the Constitution.
And support the Constitution.
And laws thereof.
And laws thereof.
And that I will.
And that I will.
To the best of my skill and judgment.
To the best of my skill and judgment.
Diligently and faithfully.
Diligently and faithfully.
Without partiality or prejudice.
Without partiality or prejudice.
Execute the office.
Execute the office.
Of Governor of Maryland.
Of Governor of Maryland.
According to the Constitution.
According to the Constitution.
And laws of this state.
And laws of this state.
And that I will not.
And that I will not.
Directly or indirectly.
Directly or indirectly.
Receive the profits.
Receive the profits.
Or any part of the profits.
Or any part of the profits.
Of any other office.
Of any other office.
During the term.
During the term.
Of my acting.
Of my acting.
As Governor of Maryland.
As Governor of Maryland.
Congratulations, Governor Moore.
We've got a lot of hugging going on up here. Congratulations, Governor.
Thank you, County Executive.
Okay. Governor brought a friend. I would like to introduce, or two. I would like to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Jaime Martinez, a retired United States soldier and great friend of the governor.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jaime Martinez. I'm a retired United States Army soldier, and I am humbled to participate in such a historic day. Honored to say a few words about my friend, Governor Moore. Wes and I met in Afghanistan in 2005 during Operation Enduring Freedom on a hot, dusty airstrip and coast along the Pakistan border, when he reported to our unit, the 82nd Airborne Division, where we were tasked with securing Afghanistan for its first ever legislative elections, while building the local economy and extending the rule of law. The pace of combat operations during that tour involved constant contact with a relentless enemy. That deployment was challenging in ways few can understand, with losses and sacrifices of many great Americans in harsh and austere conditions, all while continuing the mission. You know, Wes did not need to go to Afghanistan in 2005 to 2006. We all know that he had attended a military academy. He had also graduated from Johns Hopkins, where he had proved to be a standout student, and then attended Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. He was the kind of guy with unlimited potential, and he could have chosen to do anything with his life and succeeded. But Wes also had taken an oath of service, and he saw it as his duty to raise his hand. "Send me," he said, "I will go." And from day one, he was all in. Often, I would walk into the Tactical Operations Center in the middle of the night, and Wes would be there, evaluating reports and providing critical analysis while assisting with battle plans. In effect, to lead our information operations in an area 4 times the size of Maryland. Or he would be out on patrol, engaging the local populace and assessing the effectiveness of our campaign, while targeting the constant threat and reporting back to command. There was no rest. Wes never shrank from his duty, and his commitment never wavered. He was a soldier, he was a leader, and he was the very best of us, and well respected above his rank. His ideas were critical to our success, and in the fluid battle space of Afghanistan, our higher headquarters took notice and replicated that operational art. Our time in Afghanistan and in the service was guided by the Army's values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Now, I could tell you how Wes embodies all of them, but today I'm going to focus on selfless service. You see, selfless service is about putting the welfare of the nation before your own. Selfless service is larger than just one person, where you perform your duty without thought of recognition or personal gain. Because in the Army, and just as the government and in our local communities, it is never one person that does it all. At the end of the day, it is about your personal commitment to the team. It takes all of us doing everything that they can. And that's how Wes Moore leads. Now, I've known Wes for a very long time, and I've seen him on difficult days. Days when every decision was hard and success was far from guaranteed. And he has risen to the toughest of challenges and as he volunteered to help again and again. I will go is selfless service. I will help is selfless service. I will run is selfless service. And he did. He decided to run for governor of this great state. He said he wanted Maryland to be a state of service. And that philosophy starts at the top. Wes Moore's administration will not be defined by only his leadership or the lieutenant governors. It will be defined by the whole state's worth of leaders. Teachers and first responders, elected officials, union leaders, law enforcement officers, parents. Wes has called on every Marylander to serve and to support one another, to leave no one behind, to leave no one behind. He has made this call because he has lived these values himself. In Afghanistan, I saw a leader emerge from the most difficult challenges. And I see that same leader here today. From Afghanistan to Annapolis, Wes Moore has always put serving others before himself to set the example. He has always delivered, and starting today, he is going to deliver as governor. I could not be more prouder. Thank you. God bless. Airborne. Do great things, my friend.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Colonel, sorry. Lieutenant Colonel Martinez. All right. It is now my great honor to invite forward the beloved American who introduced Wes Moore to America 10 years ago so that she can introduce Wes Moore to us as our 63rd Maryland governor. Welcome, Ms. Oprah Winfrey.
Whoa. Hello, Maryland! I can tell you it is such a joy to be here on this day, and what a joy to be back here in Maryland. I'm back! I have to say, I was just 22 years old when I first came to Maryland. I was starting a new job as a co-anchor of the 6 o'clock news on WJZ-TV. And I left my home in Nashville, and I drove myself here in an Oldsmobile Cutlass to Baltimore. I moved into the 3rd floor at 10109 Windstream Drive, Columbia, Maryland, which at the time was considered this new model city. I was so excited, living away from home for the first time, from my family for the very first time. And as I walked around the city of Baltimore that first week, I saw the strangest thing. Their promo campaign was my face on billboards and my face on the backs of buses. My face advertising the 6 o'clock news with Jerry Turner. Remember Jerry Turner? And a question on the billboards and the buses said, "What is an Oprah?" Honestly, I didn't really know the answer to that myself. When I moved to Maryland, I had no idea really who I was or what an Oprah was. But I will tell you something, Maryland is where I figured it out. The 8 years that I lived here were some of the most significant years of my life. I grew up here. From a young, naive girl, I truly, had corn growing behind my ears. I was truly green behind the ears, and grew into a woman becoming more and more of myself from every challenge and every experience. I found community here at Bethel AME Church every Sunday. I found the freedom to perform and feed my creative spirit. I found my professional calling sitting alongside Richard Scher for the show People Are Talking. And though it wasn't the job that I moved here to do, it was the job that sparked my desire to use television to tell stories that would impact people's lives. And I found some of the closest friends of my life here, Maria Shriver and my BFF, Gail King. But most important, in Maryland, I found myself. This state is something special. It's a place where so many others have done and will do exactly what I did. Plant the seeds of their wildest dreams and watch those seeds grow into reality. Maryland is full to the brim with opportunity. It was back then, it is now. And I know that with Wes Moore as your governor, Maryland's best days lie ahead. So let me tell you a little bit about the Wes Moore that I know, the Wes that I'm proud to be standing here with today. Well, I met Wes for the first time in 2010 when I interviewed him about his best-selling book. Y'all read the book, right? Everybody's going to want to read the book now. I was so impressed even then by his integrity and his wisdom. He was wise beyond his years. He knew who he was, and he had a vision for who he intended to be and how he wanted to serve. Though I have to say, I was delightfully surprised when he called me last year, on January 6th, as a matter of fact, to tell me that he wanted to serve as governor. And I said, you want to run for governor in this political climate where everybody is so polarized, where there's such vitriol? Look at what's happening right now as we speak, because as he was telling me, I could see the CNN screen behind him, and that's the first I knew of the invasion of the Capitol. So then I turned it on. I go, look at what's happening. You want to run in this climate? And he said, exactly. Exactly. So I said, go for it, and I'll be here if you need me. I always walk away from a conversation with Wes Moore with a new perspective, with new ideas, with a new way of seeing things, a new burst of positive energy. That's what you do for people. And about 5 years ago, Wes and our now First Lady of Maryland, Dawn Moore, had come to my house for dinner. And we had a conversation that stayed with me. I still think about that conversation. We were talking about, as we often do at the table, how to live with purpose and meaning, and how to continue that into your later years, and how to know that you are spending your precious days in a way that you'll be able to look back with pride and have absolutely never any regret. And I remember, Wes, you said to me, because I had just recently ended the show, and you said, your job title, talk show host, will change. Your titles change throughout your life, you said, but your occupation will also change. But your work, you said, will always be consistent. Wes has had quite a few titles in his life. Author, Army Captain, CEO, and now Governor. The man has worn many hats, but the work he's done The work he has always done, that has never changed. It has not changed, not even a little. He has always been committed to helping young people find purpose and direction in their lives. That's why he started a small business in Baltimore that gave a helping hand to college students who needed one. He's always believed that everyone deserves an equal shot at success, an opportunity to live well, to have lives that are meaningful and provide for their families in the way that he's able to provide for James and Mia. That's why he joined the Robin Hood Foundation, one of the largest anti-poverty organizations in America, and distributed more than $600 million to families in need. He has always loved our country and believed that our country is worth fighting for. That's why he served as a captain and a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division. So you see, this might be his first day as an elected official, but Wes Moore has been a public servant his entire adult life. And there's so much more to come. He's just getting started. I once asked Wes what service meant to him, and he told me it's the thing that makes your heart beat a little bit faster. Well, something tells me that as you prepare to tell us about your vision for a stronger, safer, and more equitable Maryland, a Maryland that leaves no one behind, as you prepare to serve the state that has meant so much to you, I do believe that your heart must be pumping, 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 pumping some wild, ecstatic excitement and love for Maryland and all who abide here. It is my honor to introduce you as my friend, to introduce you as someone who I believe in, as a man I truly respect, and a man I so trust. I trust you. I trust your vision. I trust your leadership. And I want you to know you can trust it too. In your new governor, Wes Moore.
Wow, wow, wow. Hello, Maryland! God bless you all. God bless you all. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for the honor that you have bestowed upon me and Aruna Miller as your next Lieutenant Governor. President Ferguson, Speaker Adrian Jones, members of the Maryland General Assembly, thank you all. It is an honor to be your partner. And to all of our state workers and all who organized this inauguration, thank you. It is an honor to be your new colleague. To Governor Hogan, we are grateful and thankful for the kindness that you and your team have shown throughout this entire transition period. Thank you for 8 years of great service to a state that we both love. To my dear friend Oprah Winfrey, a Maryland girl at heart, thank you for your incredibly kind and gracious introduction. It is an honor to be with you today and always, and thank you for always being in my corner. To your new First Lady, my amazing wife, Dawn, And to the new first babies, me and James, you are my heart, you are my soul, you're my everything, and I love you. As we stand here today, looking out over Lawyers Mall, and you can see right there the memorial to Justice Thurgood Marshall. It's impossible not to think about our past and our path. We're blocks away from the Annapolis docks, where so many enslaved people arrived in this country against their will, and we are standing in front of a Capitol that was built by their hands. We have made uneven and unimaginable progress since then, and it is a history that has been created by generations of people whose own history was lost, stolen, or never recorded. But one thing we know is that right now we are standing here in our history, in our shared history, in our collective history, made by people who over the past 2 centuries, regardless of their origin story to this state, fought and built a state and a country that works for everybody. And there are 2 people who are here today who embody that spirit, who are sitting right here next to me, 2 extraordinary women named Hema and Joy. Hema came to this country from India. Joy from Jamaica. Yeah, man. They immigrated to America with hope in their hearts, not just for themselves, but for future generations. And now, today, they are sitting here together at the inauguration of their children to become the governor and lieutenant governor of a state that helped to welcome them. Please stand up. Please stand up so everybody can see you both. To Aruna's mom, Hema, and to my mom, Joy, you epitomize everything special about this state. And you are proof that in the state of Maryland, anything is possible. Now, yes, Aruna and my portraits are going to look a little bit different from the ones that we've always seen in the Capitol. But that's not the point. This journey has never been about making history. It's about marching forward. Today is not an indictment of the past. Today is a celebration of our collective future. And today, our opportunity to begin this future is so bright it is blinding, but only if we are intentional, inclusive, and disciplined in confronting challenges, making hard choices, and seizing this opportunity in front of us. Our state is truly remarkable. From my birthplace of Montgomery County to my adoptive home of Baltimore City, from the sandy beaches of the Eastern Shore to the rolling hills of West... Yeah, go ahead, Eastern Shore. Go ahead and make yourselves known. To the rolling hills of Western Maryland and everywhere in between. Maryland is home to spectacular natural beauty and dynamic industries and people as talented as they are determined. But the truth is, Maryland is asset rich and strategy poor. And for too long, we have left too many people behind. We know it is unacceptable that while Maryland has the highest median income in the country, 1 in 8 of our children live in poverty. We know it is unacceptable that in the home of some of the best medical institutions on the planet, that more than 250,000 Marylanders lack health coverage. We've been asked to accept that some of us must be left behind, and that in order for some to win, it means others must lose. And not only that, we've come to expect that the people who have lost will keep losing. We must refuse to accept that. Instead, I'm asking you to believe that Maryland can be different. I'm asking you to believe that Maryland can be bold, and I'm asking you to believe that in this moment, Maryland can lead. I'm asking you to understand that it is time for our policies to be as bold as our aspirations, and to confront the fact that we have been offered false choices. We do not have to choose between a competitive economy and an equitable one. Maryland should not be 43rd in unemployment or 44th in the cost of doing business. We should not tolerate an 8-to-1 racial wealth gap, not because it only hurts certain groups, but because it prevents all of us from reaching our full potential. We can attract and retain top industries like aerospace, like clean energy, like cybersecurity, and raise the minimum wage to $15 to help folks feed their families. Maryland can reward entrepreneurs who take bold risks and provide stability for families in need. Maryland can be the best place in America for employers and employees. It shouldn't be a choice, it isn't a choice, and the path forward requires us to do both of these things together. And there's another false choice we often hear, that people must choose between feeling safe in their own community and feeling safe in their own skin. Over the last 8 years, we have seen the rate of violent crime rise, and many Marylanders have grown weary in their faith that governments can actually keep them safe. We can build a police force that moves with appropriate intensity and absolute integrity and full accountability, and embrace the fact that we cannot and will not militarize ourselves to safety. We can and we will support our first responders who risk everything to protect us, and change the inexcusable fact that Maryland incarcerates more black boys than any other state in this country. We will work with communities from West Baltimore to Westminster to share data so we can keep violent offenders off of our streets, and we can welcome people who have earned a second chance back to our communities. I know what it feels like to have handcuffs on my wrists. We're not alone. I felt that when I was 11 years old. I also know what it's like to stand with families and mourn the victims of violent crime. We do not have to choose between being a safe state and a just one. Maryland can and we will be both. We're often told that climate change is a problem for the future, or something that you only have to worry about if you live in farmlands or in a flood zone. But climate change is an existential threat, and it is happening now in our communities. And so confronting climate change represents another chance for Maryland to lead. We can and we will be a leader in wind technology, in grid electrification, and in clean transit. We will protect our jewel, the Chesapeake Bay, and address toxic air pollution that chokes our cities, and we will put Maryland on track to generate 100% clean energy by 2035 and create thousands of jobs in the process. Clean energy will not just be a part of our economy, clean energy will define our economy in Maryland. But that requires everybody. Companies, communities, state and local governments, and the people to take bold and decisive action together. And importantly, we do not have to choose between giving our children an excellent education and an equitable one. We will ensure that every single one of our students and every single one of our children knows that this state loves and needs them, and we will create policies that can help them thrive. We will invest in our special education students, our English language learners, our LGBTQIA students, students experiencing homelessness, and every single child who needs a little extra help. And we will see to it that mental and behavioral health challenges do not prevent our children from getting the education that they deserve as well. And while Maryland is home to some of the best and some of the greatest institutions of higher education in this country, something we should be very, very proud of, we must end this myth that young people must attend one of them in order to be successful. That's not the path for every student. To be clear, it wasn't my path. I joined the military when I was 17 years old. I went to a 2-year college, and I think things worked out pretty well. Every student in Maryland will know that there are paths to their success and their fulfillment. And those paths begin with high quality and highly inclusive schools from pre-K to 12th grade. Now, my own journey started in military school, where I learned one of my core values: service. I went on to lead soldiers in Afghanistan, and my years of service transformed me. My character was strengthened, my vistas were widened, and my leadership was tested. I want every young Marylander of every background and from every community to have the opportunity to serve our state. That's why we will offer a service year option for all high school graduates. A year of service can prepare our young people for their careers and also provide our state with future leaders, public servants that we desperately need. The challenges that we will face will require all of us to answer this call to service, to go out and join the ranks of our teachers and our firefighters, our police officers and our civil servants, our nurses and our union members. You've elected me to serve as your governor, but the work will be done together. Now, fair warning, there are going to be skeptics and people who say that we cannot rise above the toxic partisanship that we see too often in today's politics, where people care more about where the idea came from than is it a good idea. Those are the same voices that told me at the beginning of this campaign, you don't understand how politics works. And to them, I said and I say, we must govern on big principles and not on petty differences. That we must govern in a way that addresses the needs of all of our families and not worrying about what a political ideology asks us to believe and asks us to do. That we must govern in a way that we will never forget who it is that we're fighting for and what it is that we're supposed to be fighting for. We know that in this moment we have a chance, we have an opportunity, and we have a unique place and space to do something special. And when people say, well, how do you know that you can do this, or how do you know that you can execute upon this in this time of divisiveness, in this time of political vitriol, my answer is this: it's the only way that I've ever led. You know what question I never once asked my soldiers when I was leading soldiers in Afghanistan? What's your political party? It didn't matter. We had one job, one goal, and one mission. My job was to unify our unit and go out and accomplish that mission, and it's the same job and responsibility that we have right now. If we are divided, we can't win. But if we are united, we can't lose. Now, we know that we stand here on the cusp and in a time of a historic measure. And we're very humbled by that. We know that in this time, that while for both Aruna and myself, that we're walking in a space that and we're able to see higher because of the shoulders that we're standing on. We also know that is not the assignment. That in this time and in this moment, we have a unique opportunity to lead and to love. We have a unique opportunity to build and to grow. But that opportunity can only happen if we're doing it together. Now is the opportunity that we have to march forward and to march together. And let us march on till victory is won. Today is not the victory. Today is the opportunity. It is our opportunity to lead with love. It is our opportunity to create with compassion. It's our opportunity to fight fearlessly for our future. Maryland, our time is right now. Our time is now to build a state that for those who came before us that they fought for, and it's a state that leaves no one behind. This is not a slogan, it is the fulfillment of a hope. Maryland, it's time. Let's lead and let's do it together. God bless you all, and thank you so much.
It sure does feel good to be a Marylander today. Yes, it does. The benediction will be offered by Rabbi Stuart Weinblatt from Congregation B'nai Zedek. Oh, there you are. Good.
I'd like to go off script just for a moment and say that, you know, when we watch those TV shows and Oprah has a prize for everyone, so she has a gift for everyone who's here today. And that gift is that you have witnessed history. Dear God, today we celebrate, and tomorrow we begin to work. To do the work of governing, to do the hard work of making tough decisions, to do the work of serving the people of the great state of Maryland. But today we celebrate, for it is the dawn of a new era. So let us pause in grateful prayer to take in, to appreciate, and to revel in the glory of this magnificent day. As the psalmist proclaimed about just such an occasion, Ze hayom asa Adonai, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and let us be glad. We rejoice and we are glad and we feel joy, for we are grateful, O God, to you for sending us Wes Moore and Aruna Miller to lead and to guide us. We are grateful, O God, for the grace, goodness, and kindness that has been stirred and awakened in all corners of our state by the inspiring campaign that Wes Moore conducted. We're grateful, O God, for the vision and positive, empowering message that Wes Moore has articulated. He has touched, moved, and uplifted all segments of the citizens of this great state. And he has shown us that when we are united, when we are imbued with a sense of purpose, together we can and we will achieve great things. The sages of the Talmud over 2,000 years ago offered an insight and words of wisdom that we should and we must take to heart. They used to say, I am a creature of God, and my neighbor is a creature of God. I work in the city, and he works in the country. I rise early for work, and he rises early for work. He cannot perform my work, and I cannot perform his. But lest one think that I do great things and he does small things, or that I somehow am better than he, it has been taught. It does not matter whether a person does much or little, as long as he directs his heart to heaven. And so we direct our hearts. We direct our hearts to heaven, and we pray that Governor Moore and Lieutenant Governor Miller will be guided by the very noble principles and virtues, the hopes, the dreams, the lofty ideals, and the high expectations that carried them to this office and this moment, and that have inspired so many of us. May they always remember why they aspired to seek office and to serve the people, so that when it is time to begin to work, they will remember why we celebrate today and what it is that we celebrate. And when there are difficult and challenging days, as there inevitably will be, may they remember the words of the psalmist, which Dr. King used to love to quote. His anger lasts for a moment, but his love is for a lifetime. Tears may linger for a night, but joy comes in the morning. So, dear God, do not let their ideals become tarnished. When they are weary, give them strength. When they are discouraged, do not let them despair. Send them encouragement. Should they encounter disappointment, send them hope. We ask for their well-being. We ask blessing for them and their families. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmorecha. May you watch over them. May you protect them. May you be with them, and may they be with you. For as the prophet Micah taught, what is required of you? Only to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. So may it be thy will. Amen.
Right, you were just watching history be made as Wes Moore was sworn in as the first black governor and the 63rd governor of Maryland. We'll now return you to your local programming, but we'll have much more on this historic day coming up on Fox 45 News at 4.